Hello, beautiful learners, and welcome back to the Fluent Storybook. I'm so excited you've joined me today, because we're going to embark on a journey that will completely transform your English learning experience. Have you ever been in a situation where you knew exactly what you wanted to say in your native language, but when it came time to speak English, your mind went blank? Or perhaps you found yourself mentally translating every single word, creating these long, awkward pauses that made you feel self-conscious. If you're nodding your head right now, you're definitely not alone. This is one of the biggest challenges that English learners face worldwide, and today, I'm going to share with you the secret that separates confident English speakers from those who struggle with fluency. The secret is learning how to think directly in English, without that mental translation step that slows you down and makes you doubt yourself. And here's the amazing part. By the end of today's lesson, you'll have practical, easy-to-follow strategies that you can start using immediately to train your brain to think in English. So grab a cup of your favorite beverage, get comfortable, and let's dive into this life-changing journey together. Chapter 1. The hidden barrier that's holding you back. Let me start by telling you a story about Sophia, one of my favorite students. Sophia came to me 3 years ago, frustrated beyond words. She had been studying English for over 5 years, had excellent grammar knowledge, could write beautiful essays, and had memorized thousands of vocabulary words. Yet every time someone spoke to her in English, she would freeze. "I understand everything," she told me with tears in her eyes. "But when I try to respond, it's like there's a wall between my thoughts and my mouth. I know what I want to say in my language, but by the time I translate it to English, the conversation has moved on." Does Sophia's story sound familiar? If it does, then you've encountered what I call the translation trap, the biggest obstacle to English fluency that nobody talks about. The translation trap happens when your brain insists on thinking in your native language first, then converting those thoughts to English. It sounds logical, right? After all, that's how most of us were taught. But here's the problem. This process creates a bottleneck in your mind. Think of it like this. Imagine you're trying to have a phone conversation, but every time someone says something to you, you have to hang up, write down what they said, translate it. Think of your response in your language. Translate that response to English and then call them back. How frustrating would that be? That's exactly what your brain is doing when you're stuck in the translation trap. Research in neurolinguistics shows us something fascinating. When truly fluent bilingual speakers use their second language, their brain activity patterns are almost identical to native speakers. The key difference? They're not activating the translation centers of their brain. Instead, they're accessing English directly. This is what we call direct language access, and it's the holy grail of language learning. When you achieve this, several amazing things happen. Your response time becomes natural. No more awkward pauses while you mentally translate. Your confidence skyrockets. When words flow naturally, you feel more self-assured. Your grammar improves automatically. You start using natural English patterns instead of translating sentence structures from your native language. You sound more natural. Native speakers will notice that you sound more like them. Most English courses focus on building vocabulary and teaching grammar rules, which are important foundations. However, they often miss this crucial piece. Training your brain to bypass translation and think directly in English. It's like learning to drive by only studying the manual and memorizing traffic rules. but never actually getting behind the wheel. You might know everything about cars and traffic laws, but when you finally try to drive, you'll be overwhelmed because you haven't trained your brain to process and react automatically. Let me finish Sophia's story because it perfectly illustrates what we're going to learn today. After working with the techniques I'm about to share with you, something magical happened to Sophia. It was during our 4th week of practice when she suddenly stopped in the middle of our conversation and said, "Oh my goodness, I just realized I've been thinking in English for the past 5 minutes without even noticing." That moment was her breakthrough. 6 months later, she was confidently giving presentations in English at her job. A year later, she was dreaming in English. Today, she tells me that thinking in English feels as natural as thinking in her native language. The beautiful part? Sophia didn't become fluent by memorizing more vocabulary or studying more grammar. She became fluent by training her brain to think differently. The techniques I'm about to share with you are the same ones that helped Sophia and hundreds of other students make this transformation. They're simple, practical, and you can start using them today, right now actually. But before we dive into the specific strategies, I want you to make a promise to yourself. Promise that you'll be patient with the process. Learning to think in English is like developing any new skill. It takes practice, but the results are absolutely worth it. Are you ready? Let's begin your transformation. Chapter 2. Foundation Step. Building your English thinking muscles. Just like you wouldn't try to run a marathon without first building up your endurance, you can't jump straight into thinking complex thoughts in English. We need to start with what I call English thinking muscles. And just like physical muscles, these need to be developed gradually and consistently. Our first step might surprise you because it's so simple. We're going to start by thinking in single English words. Not sentences, not complex thoughts, just individual words. Why start so small? Because your brain needs to create new pathways, and the easiest way to do this is by making simple, direct connections between what you see, feel, or experience and English words, without any translation step in between. Here's how it works. Throughout your day, you're constantly observing and experiencing things. Your brain is automatically labeling these experiences, but right now, it's probably doing this in your native language. We're going to train it to do this in English instead. Let's start with the most basic version of this exercise. For the next minute, I want you to look around wherever you are right now and silently name everything you see in English. Don't worry about making sentences. Don't worry about grammar. Just look and label chair, window, light, phone, cup, book, plant, picture. Did you notice something? Some words probably came to you immediately, while others might have required a moment of thinking. Some objects you might not have known the English word for at all. This is perfectly normal and gives us valuable information about where to focus our practice. The 3-2-1 technique. Here's a structured way to build this habit. I call it the 3-2-1 technique 3 minutes when you wake up. Before you get out of bed, while you're still lying there, name everything you can see or feel in English. Pillow, blanket, window, sunlight, tired, warm. Minutes during lunch. While you're eating, name your food and everything around you in English. Sandwich, table, fork, hungry, delicious. Full, minute before sleep. As you're settling into bed, name your end-of-day experiences in English. Dark, quiet, sleepy, tomorrow, peaceful. Here's where this practice becomes really powerful. Don't just label objects, start labeling emotions and physical sensations too. This is crucial because emotions and sensations are processed in the same part of your brain that handles language fluency. When you feel happy, think happy instead of the word in your native language. When you feel tired, think tired. When you taste something sweet, think sweet. When you hear a loud noise, think loud. This creates direct English connections to your internal experiences, which is exactly what native speakers have. As you get comfortable with single words, you can start adding simple descriptors. Red car, big dog, cold water, loud music, happy child, busy street. Still no complete sentences, but you're beginning to connect words in English patterns. This prepares your brain for the next step in our journey. The Benjamin Franklin story. Let me share a historical example that perfectly illustrates this principle. Benjamin Franklin, one of America's founding fathers, taught himself to write eloquently by reading excellent writing and then trying to recreate it from memory. He didn't start with complex essays. He began by taking individual sentences apart, studying each word, and then rebuilding them. That's exactly what we're doing with English thinking. We're starting with individual words, the building blocks. Then we'll learn to combine them into sentences, basic thoughts, and eventually into essays, complex conversations. Common mistakes to avoid. Many students make these mistakes when starting this practice. Trying to be perfect. You don't need to know the English word for everything. Focus on what you do know. Getting frustrated with unknown words. When you don't know a word, just acknowledge it and move on. Your goal is to strengthen the words you already know. Translating in their head. If you find yourself thinking, oh, that's called mesa in my language, which means table in English, you're still translating. Try to connect the object directly with the English word. Giving up too quickly. This feels strange at first because you're literally rewiring your brain. Give yourself time. Your daily challenge starting today. I want you to choose one daily activity and make it your English labeling time. It could be your morning coffee routine, your commute to work, or your evening walk. During this time, everything you see, feel, or experience gets labeled in English. Remember, we're not trying to have conversations yet. We're just building the foundation, creating direct connections between your experiences and English words. This is the groundwork that will make everything else possible. Chapter 3. Building Blocks. From Words to Natural Thoughts. Now that you've started building those direct word connections, it's time for the next exciting step. We're going to learn how to connect these words into natural English thought patterns. This is where your thinking starts to feel more like real English and less like a vocabulary exercise. Think of individual words as islands and fluent thinking as a beautiful archipelago connected by bridges. Right now you have some islands, your English vocabulary, but you need bridges, natural connection patterns, to move smoothly between them. The secret to building these bridges is understanding that English thinking doesn't work the same way as thinking in other languages. Each language has its own rhythm, its own way of connecting ideas, and its own natural patterns. Let's start with the most basic English thought pattern. Subject plus verb. This might seem too simple, but it's actually the backbone of English thinking. Instead of complex translations, Your brain will learn to think in these natural patterns. Dog barks, phone rings. Sun shines, baby sleeps, music plays, car stops. Do you feel how different this is from translating? You're not thinking the dog is making a barking sound and then translating. You're thinking directly in the natural English pattern, dog barks. Once you're comfortable with subject plus verb, we add one element at a time. Level 1, subject plus verb rain. Falls cat, sleeps time, passes. Level 2, subject plus verb plus object I drink coffee. She reads book dog chases ball. Level 3, subject plus verb plus object plus where I drink coffee at home. She reads book in bed dog chases ball in park. Level 4. Subject plus, verb plus, object plus, where plus. When I drink coffee at home every morning, she reads book in bed before sleep dog chases ball in park on Sunday. Notice how we're building naturally, not forcing complex grammar rules. This is how children naturally develop language thinking. And it's how your brain wants to learn too. The stream of consciousness technique. Here's a powerful exercise I call stream of consciousness in English. Set a timer for 2 minutes and let your thoughts flow in English, speaking them out loud. Don't worry about being interesting or profound. Just let your mind wander and describe what it encounters. It might sound like this. I sit on chair. Chair is comfortable. I see window. Window shows garden. Garden has green plants. Plants look healthy. I feel peaceful. Peaceful is nice feeling. I like this exercise. The magic happens when you stop judging your thoughts and just let them flow. Your brain starts to create its own English pathways. The story of Marcus. Let me tell you about Marcus, a student from Germany who struggled with this step initially. He was a perfectionist and kept trying to make complex, grammatically perfect thoughts. Every time he tried the stream of consciousness exercise, he would stop and correct himself. One day, I gave him a challenge. For the next week, I want you to think wrong English on purpose. Make grammar mistakes. Use simple words. Be messy. This advice changed everything for Marcus. When he stopped trying to be perfect, his brain relaxed and started making natural connections. Within 2 weeks, he was thinking in English for minutes at a time without realizing it. The lesson? Sometimes we need to think imperfectly to achieve natural fluency. The internal narrator. Practice. Another powerful technique is developing your internal English narrator. Throughout your day, narrate your actions in simple English thoughts. I open door. I walk outside. Sun feels warm. I see my neighbor. I wave hello. Neighbor smiles back. I feel happy. This isn't for anyone else to hear. It's your private English thinking practice. You're literally training your brain to process your daily life in English rather than your native language. Advanced connection patterns as you get more comfortable. You can start experimenting with more complex connection. Patterns, cause and effect. I feel tired because I worked. Late plants grow because. Rain comes, I smile because joke is funny comparisons. Today, warmer than yesterday. This book more interesting than last book English. Easier when I practice daily feelings and opinions. I think this. Movie is boring. I feel happy when I speak English. I believe practice makes perfect. The momentum secret. Here's something crucial. Momentum is more important than perfection. When you're practicing these connection patterns, keep your thoughts moving. Don't stop to worry about grammar or search for the perfect word. If you don't know a word, use a simple one or even make one up. If your grammar isn't perfect, keep going anyway. The goal is to build fluidity and natural rhythm in your English thinking. Your weekly challenge: choose 1 hour each day this week to live with your internal English narrator turned on. During this hour, narrate everything you do, see, and feel using these simple connection patterns. Start with subject plus verb combinations and gradually add complexity as you feel comfortable. Remember, you're not trying to impress anyone. You're training your brain to think naturally in English. By the end of this week, you should notice that connecting English words feels less forced and more automatic. That's when you're ready for our next step: creating longer thought sequences. Chapter 4. The Flow State. Creating Longer English. Thought sequences. Welcome to what I consider the most exciting phase of learning to think in English. This is where everything starts to come together, where those individual words and simple connections begin flowing into longer, more natural thought sequences. This is where you'll start to feel like you're actually thinking in English, not just practicing it. Understanding the English thought flow. Have you ever watched a river? Near its source, it might be just a tiny stream, jumping from rock to rock. But as it gathers more water and finds its natural path, it begins to flow smoothly, continuously, powerfully. That's exactly what we're going to do with your English thinking. Right now, your English thoughts might feel like that mountain stream, a little choppy, jumping from one idea to the next. But we're going to help them find their natural flow until they become like a confident river, moving smoothly from one thought to the next without interruption. The mini-story method. The most effective way to develop longer thought sequences is through what I call mini-stories. These aren't complex narratives. They're simply extended descriptions of ordinary moments in your life, told in English. Here's the structure. Setting the scene, where and when. The action, what happens. The details, how and why. The feeling, your emotional response. Let's look at an example. I sit in my favorite coffee shop on Tuesday morning. The barista makes my usual order, 1 cappuccino with extra foam. I watch the milk swirl into the coffee, creating beautiful patterns. The warm cup feels good in my hands. I take my first sip and taste the rich, smooth flavor. This moment makes me feel peaceful and ready for my day. Notice how this flows naturally from one thought to the next, creating a complete English thinking experience. The building technique: start small and gradually extend your thought sequences. Week 1. 30-second stories. Choose simple daily moments and describe them for 30 seconds in English. Making breakfast. Checking your phone, looking out the window. Week 2. 1-minute stories. Extend the same types of moments to 1 minute, adding more details and feelings. Week 3. 2-minute stories. Now you're creating substantial thought sequences that include multiple connected ideas. Week 4. Free-flow thinking. Let your thoughts wander naturally in English without time limits or specific topics. The Lisa transformation. Let me share Lisa's story. Lisa was a marketing professional from South Korea who could write excellent English emails and reports, but struggled with spontaneous conversation. When I first asked her to create a mini story, she produced something very stilted. I go to office. I work on computer. I eat lunch. I go home. It was grammatically correct, but felt like a robot had written it. Over 6 weeks of mini-story practice, her thinking transformed completely. Here's one of her later stories. This morning I discovered something wonderful while walking to work. I usually take the same route every day, but today construction blocked my usual path, so I had to find a different way. As I walked down this unfamiliar street, I noticed a small bookshop I had never seen before. The window display caught my attention. It featured books about travel and adventure with beautiful photographs of distant places. For just a moment, I felt this incredible urge to abandon my routine and book a flight somewhere exotic. Of course, I didn't actually do it, but that feeling of possibility followed me all the way to the office and made my ordinary day feel a little more magical. The difference is remarkable. Lisa learned to let her thoughts flow and build naturally in English rather than translating structured ideas from Korean. The stream technique. Here's one of my favorite exercises for developing flow. I call it the English stream. Set a timer for 5 minutes. Start with any observation about your immediate environment and let your thoughts flow naturally in English, speaking them aloud. The key is to never stop talking, even if you need to use simple words or repeat yourself. It might sound like this. I see my desk in front of me. On my desk, there's a computer, some papers, and a coffee cup. The coffee cup is blue, my favorite color. Blue reminds me of the ocean. I love the ocean because it's so peaceful and vast. When I was a child, my family used to visit the beach every summer. Those were happy times. I remember building sand castles with my sister. My sister lives far away now, but we still talk often. We usually talk on video calls, and that makes me happy. Notice how one thought leads naturally to the next, creating an unbroken stream of English thinking. Overcoming common obstacles. Many students hit obstacles during this phase. Here are the most common ones and how to overcome them. Obstacle 1. I don't have anything interesting to say. Solution. Ordinary moments make the best practice material. You don't need dramatic stories, just authentic observations. Obstacle 2. I keep stopping when I don't know a word. Solution. Use simple words instead of complex ones. Say happy instead of exhilarated. The goal is flow, not vocabulary display. Obstacle 3. I feel self-conscious speaking aloud. Solution. Start with whispered practice or even silent thinking. Gradually increase your volume as you become more comfortable. Obstacle 4. My thoughts feel repetitive and boring. Solution. This is normal. Repetition is actually helpful for building neural pathways. Embrace the boring thoughts. The connection bridge. As your mini-stories become more natural, start connecting them with transition words and phrases. This creates even longer thought sequences. After that, meanwhile, this reminds me of, on the other hand, speaking of. That's why these little bridges allow your thoughts to flow from one topic to another naturally, just like they do in your native language. Advanced flow techniques. Once you're comfortable with basic flow, try these advanced techniques. The perspective shift. Tell the same mini-story from different viewpoints. The time jump. Start with now and flow backward or forward in time. The sensory journey. Focus on what you see, hear, feel, smell, and taste as your thoughts flow. The question stream. Let curiosity guide your thoughts by asking yourself questions in English. Your flow challenge this week. I challenge you to have one 5-minute English thinking session each day. Choose a comfortable private space where you can speak aloud without feeling self-conscious. Start with any simple observation and let your thoughts flow wherever they want to go. Don't plan what you'll say. Just start talking and trust that your brain will find its path. By the end of the week, you should notice that your English thoughts feel more connected, more natural, and more like genuine thinking rather than translation exercise. Remember, this is where the magic really begins. You're not just learning vocabulary or grammar anymore. You're developing an English-thinking mind. Chapter 5. Advanced Integration. Making English your mental default. Congratulations. You've reached the most sophisticated level of thinking in English. This is where we transition from practice sessions to making English thinking a natural, automatic part of your daily mental life. We're going to integrate English thinking so deeply into your routine that it becomes effortless. The default language. Concept every multilingual person has what psychologists call a default language. The language their mind automatically uses for internal dialogue, problem-solving, and spontaneous thoughts. For most people, this is their native language, but it doesn't have to stay that way. Research shows that people who achieve true fluency in a second language often shift their internal default to that language, at least in certain contexts. Today, we're going to learn how to make this shift. Intentionally and strategically. The environmental immersion strategy. Creating an English-thinking environment doesn't require moving to an English-speaking country. You can create powerful immersion experiences right where you are. Here's how. Digital environment. Transformation. Change your phone's language to English. Set your computer and all apps to English. Follow English social media. Accounts in your areas of interest. Listen to English. Podcasts during commute time. Watch English YouTube videos about your hobbies. Physical environment cues. Put English labels on items around your home. Keep English books and magazines visible. Write your shopping lists in English. Use English for all your personal notes and reminders. Mental environment shifts. Plan your day in English each morning. Reflect on your day in English each evening. Solve problems by thinking through them in English. Make decisions by weighing pros and cons in English. The contextual switching method. One of the most effective advanced techniques is learning to switch your thinking language based on context. This is how many successful multilingual professionals operate. Professional context. Think in English when dealing with work-related matters, even if your workplace uses your native language. Plan meetings, brainstorm solutions, and analyze problems in English. Learning context. When studying anything new, not just English, try processing the information in English. This creates powerful dual learning. Creative context. Write creative thoughts, poems, or journal entries in English. This engages the creative centers of your brain with English thinking. Problem-solving context. When facing a challenge, switch to English to think it through. This often provides fresh perspectives because different languages can activate different thinking patterns. The Sarah success story. Let me tell you about Sarah, a brilliant engineer from Mexico who came to me with a specific challenge. She could handle technical English perfectly in meetings and presentations, but she struggled with casual conversation and creative expression. Sarah's breakthrough came when she started using what we call English thinking zones throughout her day. Morning zone, 6 to 7 a.m. All thoughts in English while getting ready for work commute zone. English podcasts and thinking in English about the day ahead lunch zone. English thinking while eating. Even when eating with Spanish-speaking colleagues evening zone. English reflection on the day before switching back to Spanish for family time within 3 months. Sarah reported that her English thinking felt as natural as her Spanish thinking in these designated zones. 6 months later, she was effortlessly switching between languages based on context, and her confidence in English conversation had completely transformed. The internal dialogue technique. Your internal dialogue, that constant stream of thoughts running through your mind, is the holy grail of language learning. When you can shift this internal dialogue to English, you've achieved something remarkable. Start by choosing specific times to deliberately conduct your internal dialogue in English. Decision-making, dialogue. Should I take the bus or walk today? It's raining, so maybe the bus is better. But walking gives me exercise. I think I'll take the bus today and walk tomorrow when it's sunny. Planning dialogue. Let me think about what I need to do today. First, I have that meeting at 10. I should prepare by reviewing those documents. After that, I need to call my dentist to schedule an appointment. Oh, and I should buy groceries on the way home. Reflection dialogue. That conversation went well. I felt more confident speaking English than usual. I think it's because I practiced thinking in English first. I should keep doing that. It really helps. The stream of consciousness mastery. At this advanced level, your stream of consciousness thinking should flow naturally in English without effort. Here's how to achieve this. Free association practice. Let your mind wander completely freely in English for 10-15 minutes daily. Don't direct your thoughts at all. Just observe where your English thinking mind wants to go. Dream integration. Before sleep, set an intention to think in English. Many students report that this eventually leads to dreaming in English, which is a sign of deep integration. Emotional processing. This is advanced work. But try processing emotions and emotional experiences in English. When you feel frustrated, happy, worried, or excited, explore those feelings using English thoughts. The maintenance system. Once you've developed strong English thinking abilities, you need a maintenance system to keep them sharp. Daily minimums. Established non-negotiable minimums. Perhaps 10 minutes of deliberate English thinking daily, no matter how busy you are. Weekly intensives. 1 day per week. Try to conduct as much of your internal life in English as possible. Monthly challenges. Each month, pick a new area of your life to integrate with English thinking. Maybe your exercise routine, your cooking, or your creative hobbies. The plateau prevention strategy. Many advanced learners hit a plateau where their English thinking becomes comfortable but stops improving. Here's how to prevent that. Complexity challenges. Deliberately tackle complex topics that push your English thinking abilities. Vocabulary expansion. Regularly introduce sophisticated vocabulary into your thinking practice. Cultural integration. Start thinking about cultural concepts and cultural differences in English. Abstract thinking. Practice thinking about abstract concepts like justice, beauty, success, or happiness in English. The Marco transformation. Let me share one final story about Marco, an Italian businessman who wanted to expand his company internationally. When he started working with me, he could handle business English competently, but he felt like he was acting in English rather than being himself. Through advanced integration techniques, Marco learned to bring his authentic personality into his English thinking. He started processing his business strategies, his creative ideas, and even his personal reflections in English. The result? A year later, Marco successfully expanded his business to 3 English-speaking countries. But more importantly, he told me, "I don't feel like I'm translating Marco into English anymore. I feel like I'm just Marco, and Marco happens to think in multiple languages. Your advanced challenge for the next 30 days, I want you to choose one significant area of your life and commit to thinking about it primarily in English. It could be your career goals and professional development, a creative project you're working on, your fitness and health journey, your relationships and social life, your personal growth and learning. The key is to choose something meaningful to you, something you naturally think about regularly. Then, whenever this topic comes to mind, deliberately engage with it in English. By the end of 30 days, you should have one area of your life where English thinking feels completely natural and automatic. This becomes your foundation for expanding English thinking to other areas of your life. Chapter 6. Mastery and Beyond. Living Your Life in English. Welcome to the final chapter of our journey together. By now, you've built the skills to think in English naturally and automatically. But mastery isn't just about having the ability. It's about living that ability every day, making it a seamless part of who you are. Today, we're going to talk about making English thinking not just a skill you have, but a natural part of your identity. The identity shift, there's a profound difference between someone who can think in English and someone who naturally thinks in English. The difference isn't just skill level, it's identity. When English thinking becomes part of your identity, you stop seeing it as something you do and start seeing it as something you are. This shift is crucial because identity-based changes are much more sustainable than skill-based changes. A person who identifies as someone who thinks in English will naturally maintain and improve this ability, while someone who sees it as just a skill might let it fade over time. The cognitive benefits you've gained. Before we talk about maintaining and expanding your abilities, let's celebrate what you've already achieved. Learning to think in English has given you cognitive benefits that extend far beyond language. Enhanced mental flexibility. Your brain has become more agile at switching between different thinking patterns and perspectives. Improved problem solving. Many students report that they can solve problems more creatively when they think about them in English, because different languages activate different neural pathways. Increased cultural intelligence. As you think in English, you naturally start to understand cultural nuances and perspectives that are embedded in the language. Greater confidence. Nothing builds confidence like knowing you can think clearly and respond naturally in English without hesitation. Expanded identity. You've become a more complex, multifaceted person who can operate authentically in multiple linguistic worlds. The daily mastery. Practices mastery isn't a destination. It's a daily practice. Here are the practices that will keep your English thinking sharp and continue developing it. Morning intention setting. Each morning, spend 2 to 3 minutes setting your intentions for the day in English. This isn't just about planning tasks. It's about connecting with your deeper motivations and values using English thoughts. Evening reflection. Before sleep, reflect on your day in English. What went well? What could have been better? What did you learn? This practice deepens your ability to process complex experiences in English. Weekly. Deep thinking. Once a week, tackle a complex topic that matters to you, philosophy. Current events, personal goals, creative projects, and explore it deeply in English. Write about it, think about it, discuss it with yourself. Monthly identity check. Once a month, reflect on how your identity has evolved as someone who thinks in multiple languages. How has this changed your perspective, your relationships, your opportunities? The creative expression phase, at the mastery level, you're ready to use English thinking for creative expression. This is where your English thinking becomes truly alive and personal. Journaling. Write stream of consciousness journal entries in English, exploring your thoughts, dreams, fears, and hopes. Creative writing. Try writing poetry, short stories, or personal essays in English. Don't worry about publishing. This is about expression and growth. Humor and wordplay. Start appreciating and creating English humor, puns, and wordplay. Humor is one of the highest forms of linguistic mastery. Philosophical thinking. Engage with big questions and abstract concepts in English. What is the meaning of success? What makes a good life? How do you define happiness? The cultural bridge. As a master-level English thinker, you become a bridge between cultures. This is both a privilege and a responsibility. Cultural translation. You can help others understand not just words, but cultural concepts and ways of thinking. Perspective sharing. Your multicultural thinking allows you to offer unique perspectives in both your native culture and English-speaking contexts. Global citizenship. You become a more effective global citizen, able to understand and communicate across cultural boundaries. The professional advantages. Let's talk practically about how English thinking mastery can transform your professional life. Leadership presence. Leaders who think clearly in English can communicate vision, strategy, and inspiration more effectively in international contexts. Innovation capacity. Different languages can spark different types of creative thinking. Your English thinking gives you access to innovation patterns that might not exist in your native language. Networking power. When you can think and respond naturally in English, you build stronger, more authentic professional relationships with international colleagues and clients. Strategic thinking. Many global business concepts and frameworks are developed in English. When you can think about strategy in English, you access these frameworks more naturally. Communication leadership. You become someone others turn to for clear, thoughtful communication in international settings. The relationship transformation. English thinking mastery also transforms your personal relationships. Deeper international friendships. When you can think in English, your friendships with English speakers become deeper and more authentic because you can share your real thoughts, not just translated versions. Family pride. Your family sees you as someone who has achieved something remarkable, which can inspire others and strengthen family bonds. Romantic relationships. If you have a partner who speaks English, your ability to think and express emotions in English can deepen your intimacy and understanding. Mentorship opportunities. You become someone who can guide others on their English learning journey, which is deeply fulfilling. The maintenance challenge. Here's something many people don't talk about. Maintaining mastery requires ongoing effort. Without regular practice, even advanced skills can atrophy. Here's how to prevent that. Diversification strategy. Don't just maintain your current level. Keep expanding into new areas. Learn to think about new subjects in English regularly. Community building. Connect with others who share your commitment to English thinking. This could be online communities, local conversation groups, or international professional networks. Content consumption. Regularly consume challenging English content, advanced podcasts, academic articles, complex documentaries, literary fiction, teaching and sharing. One of the best ways to maintain mastery is to teach others. Share your journey, help other learners, explain concepts in English. The continuous growth mindset. True mastery means never stopping learning. Here are ways to keep growing. Accent and pronunciation refinement. Work on subtle aspects of pronunciation and intonation that make your spoken English even more natural. Register flexibility. Master different registers of English: formal, informal, academic, creative, technical, emotional, cultural depth. Continuously deepen your understanding of English-speaking cultures, their history, their values, their humor. Specialized vocabulary. Keep expanding your vocabulary in areas that matter to you professionally and personally. The Elena Excellence Story. Let me share the story of Elena, a former student who exemplifies what English thinking mastery looks like in real life. Elena came to me 5 years ago as a talented architect from Spain who wanted to work internationally. Today, Elena runs her own international architecture firm with projects in 6 countries. But here's what's remarkable. Elena tells me that she actually thinks differently about architecture when she thinks in English versus Spanish. In Spanish, I think about the emotional and cultural aspects of buildings, she explained. In English, I think more systematically about functionality and innovation. Having both perspectives makes me a better architect. Elena has become what I call a cognitive bilingual, someone whose thinking is genuinely enhanced by having access to multiple language thinking systems. This is the ultimate goal of our journey. Your personal mastery plan. As we conclude this journey, I want you to create your personal mastery plan. Here's a framework. Daily non-negotiables. What will you do every single day to maintain your English thinking? Weekly growth activities. What will you do weekly to continue improving? Monthly challenges. How will you challenge yourself each month to grow? Annual goals. What major English thinking goals will you set for yourself each year? Support system. Who will support you on this continuing journey? The ripple effect. Finally, remember that your English thinking mastery creates ripples far beyond your own life. You inspire others to believe that they too can achieve this level of Fluency, you build bridges between cultures and help create a more connected world. You model possibility for other language learners who might be struggling. You contribute to global communication and understanding. Your next chapter as we reach the end of this lesson. Remember that this isn't really an ending. It's a graduation. You're graduating from being someone who learns to think in English to someone who lives thinking in English. The techniques I've shared with you today are not just language learning strategies. They're cognitive transformation, tools that will serve you for the rest of your life. Every day you practice them, you're not just maintaining a skill, you're expanding your human capacity. Final challenge and commitment. I want to leave you with a final challenge. For the next 90 days, commit to living as someone who naturally thinks in English. Not someone who is learning to think in English, but someone who does think in English, make decisions in English, solve problems in English, plan your future in English, reflect on your past in English, dream your biggest dreams in English. And then, 90 days from now, I want you to look back and realize that somewhere during those 90 days, you stopped trying to think in English and started simply thinking in English. A personal message before we close. I want to share something personal with you. Creating this lesson has been incredibly meaningful for me because I know the transformation you're experiencing. I've seen it in hundreds of students, and I've experienced it myself. There's something magical that happens when you can think clearly in multiple languages. You become more than the sum of your parts. You become a bridge between worlds, a citizen of the globe, a person who can connect with humanity in multiple ways. That's not just language learning, that's personal evolution. And you've just taken a major step in that evolution. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Thank you for your commitment to growth, for your willingness to practice, and for your determination to become the multilingual thinker you're meant to be. Remember, this channel, the Fluent Storybook, is here to support your continuing journey. Subscribe if you haven't already, because we'll be exploring more advanced topics that build on what you've learned today. Leave a comment below telling me which technique resonated most strongly with you. And share this video with someone you know who's on their own English learning journey. Learning is always better when we do it together. And most importantly, start practicing these techniques today. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Your future multilingual self is waiting for you to take the first step. Until our next lesson together, keep thinking, keep growing, and keep building bridges between worlds. This is the Fluent Storybook. And remember, your story in English is just beginning.